Is Veronica second?
Okay, Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, but was it somebody?
Good morning. Call to order the Thursday, March 19th, 2026 meeting of the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. And we have a full committee present and several staff members and a couple of topics we'll be discussing as we go. Are there any changes to the agenda? Public comment. We have the minutes of February 19th. Any changes, corrections, additions? If not, is there a motion to approve those? John Hunt, second, Judith Hubbard. Discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? And we'll have the minutes stand. Chair's report, I think we'll be coming back later on with administration to talk a little bit about the year's goals, and I don't have anything of particular interest. I think we'll have a couple questions for the department heads as we go. County administrator's report. Norma, are you with us, or do you want me to hold a little bit?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm here for right now. I'm so sorry I'm not there in person. I took my computer homework last night, left it at home. Yeah, so this morning we have 3 resolutions for you to consider. So I don't know when you want to take those up. Right now we have a set of departmental goals, and I can't see who's in the chamber right now, but I know Rel will be a little later if he could go over his goals when he gets in. But if highway or airport are there and available, they could go over their goals now.
Okay. We'll come back to the goals. Are you able to go ahead with the 2 resolutions that we've got?
The resolutions?
Be the self-insure for Newfield Bridge and authorization for the lease agreement, workforce development.
Lost her.
Oh,
She was breaking up when she was last talking.
why don't we come back to county administration, and we'll move up to the airport. And this fits well within the goals that we started talking about last month. Airport sustainability has been a topic with the previous legislature, and certainly will be with this one moving forward, changing economic circumstances and timing, and the dip in ridership since COVID have placed some stress on the airport's finances. And one of the things that we asked Roxanne Noble to do was to talk to the committee a little bit about the airport financials and the basics, I guess, as we call them. And we hear a lot of acronyms when we talk about the airport relating to the fees and the programs. And my guess is she's going to tell us what some of those letters stand for. So, Roxanne, thanks for being with us today.
Yep, absolutely. Do you want me to start right out with that? Or I do have a couple of other updates, things happening at the airport.
Why don't we do the updates and the budget adjustment, and then we'll have you do the report.
Perfect. So as you know, the federal government is still on the shutdown, so our TSA staff, we've been very fortunate. They have been fully staffed. There haven't been any issues with them not reporting for work, although they have not been receiving pay. So, you know, and it's a very difficult situation. A lot of them work part-time. They're really a good group of people that we're very lucky to have. And also we've taken on some of the other TSA staff when Binghamton lost their commercial service on February 14th. So the TSA was able to locate some of them in our airport on the part-time basis to help out as well. But we're going to be supporting our TSA team. We're going to be doing a food drive, you know, as well as gift cards. Stuff can be dropped off next week in our administration building, the 23rd through the 27th between 8 a.m. and 4:30. And Chris from marketing, he's also going to be at the terminal out front at the curb. So if anybody's, coming up to the curb or taking a flight on March 24th and 26th between 12 and 4. Just something that we can, maybe help out the families as well. So we think that it's kind of a good thing to do. Hopefully things are taken care of quicker, but just something that we thought would be helpful. Also on Saturday, April 11th, in the terminal from 4 to 7 p.m., we're going to have an event. It's where culture takes flight. So it's a community art gala celebrating sustainability. There's going to be a quartet. There's going to be some a cappella groups. There's going to be an art table for kids, food by the Second Landing Cafe, and many other things are happening. So be on the lookout. That'll be out on our social media. And I'll probably try to blast these two via email. I'll reach out to ITS and make sure, but get that out to all county.
The date again?
Saturday, April 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. in the terminal. And then on Saturday, September 19th, giving you guys a good heads up on this, is Airport Day and Preparedness Expo. We have taken on, the county has many departments that join us. So on Saturday, September 19th, it'll be up at the airport. We have plane rides usually by East Hill Flying Club that people can sign up for, an initial flight. We'll have many county departments there sharing information on what the county department does. So it's just a great information day. It's to bring people to the airport, but also to see not only what happens at the airport, but what also happens in the county and the community. So if you have any ideas or any thoughts or anything that you would like to bring to this event, please reach out to either Chris Stephanie or Jeff Dunn with emergency response. And again, information will be coming out on that.
Thanks,
Yep.
Roxanne. That, it'd be great if people mark down, well, both dates, but in particular the 19th of September. That really is one of our largest public information sessions and gatherings for county operations, and you've had some great participation from several other departments and community groups over the last few years, and it's well received, and the breakfast besides.
Yeah, it's pancake breakfast from East Hill Flying Club. We have, Office for the Aging comes up, Human Resources. It's just really a great event. It's free. There's things that you can purchase while there, the flights, the breakfast, but the kids love it. There's usually Crossroads the Clown. I always throw that out there because my child, who's, 34, but she's scared of clowns. But just to let you know, so he does a great event there too, and it's a really nice day. And knock on wood, we've been lucky with the weather. We have the runway 5K too, which people love to run down the runway. So yeah, it's a great time. So hopefully many of you can make it.
And the TSA is okay with that?
They are. We have to get prior approval from the TSA and the FAA, but we do all the paperwork.
Very good. Any questions for Roxanne before she talks a little bit about the finances?
Yeah. And did you want to do the resolution or the finances?
Yeah,
first?
why don't we put that on the agenda or on the floor here? Be resolution under 7B, budget adjustment, Ithaca Tompkins International Airport, Small Community Air Service Development Grant, ID number 13946. Do I have a mover? Dan, second by Judith. Why don't you explain it and we'll...
Sure. So this is, we've already accepted the grant, but this is just setting up the budget lines with the county process. It was something that I had missed apparently when we accepted the grant. I didn't have it, so it's really a paperwork process. The revenue will not impact our operating budget. This is revenue from, the grant, and it's expense line. So it allows finance to process invoices when they come in and accept the revenue.
Will that be all taken care of this year, or will it carry over?
It may carry over slightly, but it should be the majority of it taken care of this year. That's the plan. If anything changes on that, I'll let the committee know, but I think it should all be done within this year.
Okay. I know in some of the other committees, we've begun to see some more frequent budget adjustments because of the staggered years, where in years past, once the initial adjustment had been done, it oftentimes carried forward, so we may see these more often.
And with the project too, a lot of those can carry over when you have a project associated with the funding. They can carry easier from year to year. It's not necessarily an operating budget. So a project, like, a lot of our capital projects carry from year to year that we don't have to go and get approval, but it runs year by year, so you see what happens in each year. But a project, you can do that. So it's a little simpler as well to have this separate out of an operating budget.
Thanks. Any other questions? Dan, Judith?
Thank you. Just a language question on here. The second whereas says the grant funds were used, past tense, and then the resolved says that may be needed or used, so it looks like future tense. What is this? Do we need to make a correction? Any explanation?
So I think my thought process, but I actually now reading that makes much more sense. We used the grant to encourage the service, so that's where the word came from, but I'm comfortable with changing it, the wording, if there's something that it sounds better.
Is this a case of a portion of it has already been used and some is still left to be used, or?
It has not, so nothing has been expended yet from the grant per se. We have some of the marketing, we have invoices coming in that we can get reimbursed, but nothing has been spent for that yet.
Maybe instead of were used, it's were intended.
Are planned for something? Yeah, I'm just.
I was going to say expected funds from this grant were used.
About expected funds from this grant are to be used.
That's friendly.
And we would just need a legislator to make a motion for the amendment.
Is it a friendly amendment that can be done?
The new process that's been requested when a department head makes an amendment is to have a mover and a seconder be a legislator.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so.
Do I hear a motion for that?
All right. Whereas funds from this grant are expected to be used, does that work?
It's like encouraging a fund exists.
Does that sound good, Roxanne? Funds are expected to be used for.
Yeah, and maybe get rid of encourage because they're already doing it, so. I think I probably cheated some and pulled this from the grant acceptance resolution.
Okay, so let's just go back here. Funds from this grant are expected to be used for an airline to introduce.
But it's not a new direct flight anymore.
Yeah, sorry, I'm working on this live here. This is the case of the cart before the horse. We're trying to put it together.
Maybe the introduction of the new direct flight was in part based on the expectation of using these funds. Does that make sense?
Can I suggest a new direct flight that now connects Ithaca with Washington, D.C. Was introduced in part with the expectation of using these funds?
That sounds great to me. I mean,
it's a little weird because the flight already exists, right? So we're not going to be using the funds now to get a new direct flight because the flight now is present.
So this is like a budget, like really a thing, so maybe, yeah.
Okay, so to clarify, we have Dan Wakeman who has removed his motion for the verbiage. Thank you. And we have Judith Hubbard making a motion to remove the whereas statement starting on line 6, going to line 8 on packet page number 27, and we're going to amend it with the verbiage she just stated, and we would need a seconder for Judith's motion.
Dan's seconding that.
Second, yep.
Okay, to the amendment. Any discussion?
Yep.
All in favor? To the main motion.
All right, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Great. So can I clarify, when did we learn that we received this money? And also, is this something that can be renewed in future years or just a one-off?
So this grant we accepted, I think it was back in the end of 2023. In 2024, we got the grant. And then it was a process of getting the service back. And this is a grant that we can apply for every year. The Small Community Air Service Development Grant, we can put together a plan and apply for that many times. But this is the second or third time we've received this grant in the past.
And can it be $1 million every year?
It can be different. It can be different amounts. There is a local share, a community share. You know, we have to put together the package. And it can be, you know, and it can be for different things. You can do the grant for a revenue guarantee. You can do the grant for marketing. You can do it for different types of things. But usually those are the main items that people do the grant for.
Do you have plans to apply for it again in the coming year?
Probably not this year, but next year the plan is, yep.
Why not this year?
They usually recommend, like, it's not like one that you'll get multiple years.
Is it
so it's kind of a whole, it's very competitive.
Okay.
There's a lot that apply for it. And they do have some really strict guidelines. So making sure you have a thought process. And so the meetings with the airlines really come into play here is getting, you know, what opportunities are out there so that when we put the grant in, it really looks promising that we have a letter of support, usually from an airline stating that, you know, this is something they're interested in as well. And just making sure that we can really bring it to fruition.
Further questions? Randy?
Thanks, Roseanne. So have we received the money?
So we will, so it's a reimbursable grant,
Okay.
but we have the grant, so it is available. So whatever is needed and whatever, you know, that we've expended, we can get reimbursed. There's a percentage rate that they do reimburse at. So yeah, we just have to prove that payment has been made. So we expend the amount and then they reimburse it. And then there's other offsetting amounts that will cover the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Dan?
When this comes up again, it might be helpful to explain that reimbursable nature in a whereas. I'm not going to change this one now, but that would help frame what we just talked about. A question I have here, can I get a description on the revenue and appropriation line codes? Just so I can understand.
Sure. So the revenue is just coming in from the state. So the 44592 is a state.
As a state?
State
Okay.
grant. And I believe it's state. And then the appropriation is professional services.
Professional services, thank you.
And you may see some adjustments within the appropriation at different times if it's directed towards something other than services.
Correct. Yep.
Professional services.
But I think pretty much this one will all be within that. And usually,
I don't want to call it a catch-all, but it,
yeah, so then like if it does, it'll go like if we do need it to be for education and promotion, we can switch it to that line item.
any further questions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thanks. Okay, you're on.
All right. So Airport Financials 101, the basics. And also, I sent this out ahead of time, with the agenda. And also, please always, I've been doing the airport budget for many years, and I really enjoy doing it. I know that's crazy sounding, but I like the numbers. If you ever have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, a phone call, sit down with a cup of coffee and go over anything. So the airport currently operates, we have 4 cost centers. We have the airfield, the terminal, ground transportation, and other leased. So each of those cost centers that has expenses associated with it. And depending on what it is, we have to factor in how those expenses are covered. And within that, we have not only our staffing, but we have the fringes, professional services, equipment line items, contracts, utilities, maintenance. So a lot of that, there's two, our operating budget is covered with airline revenue and non-airline revenue, and of the recent years, the support from the county and the STPB funding. So those are funding that's taken into account. But the majority of our revenue, is fees and rental charges that are non-airline. It's based on contractual agreements, so agreements that we would have with our rental car companies. The rental car companies pay us a commission on the rentals that they have. They pay us a rental rate for the counter. They pay us a rental rate per parking spot that they occupy for ready lots and return lots. And we recently redid that agreement and actually increased the amount of revenue from the rental cars probably 2 or 3 years ago by having, one of our consultants really look at the agreement and how it was worded and to make sure that, we're in line with other airports our size and getting the revenue that, should be associated with that. We also collect what's called, it's very similar, I'll discuss a passenger facility charge. We have a customer facility charge for rental cars. It's a CFC, and that's $3 per rental that can be used only for, so it's set in a separate account that the finance director does, and that money can be used for, when we need to replace the car wash, or if the parking lot that the rental cars pay for needs to be repaved, that money can be used for that. So we don't have to come up with money out of our operating budget or, try to put it in a capital project. We have revenue that can be used directly for things associated with rental cars. The airline revenue actually consists of the terminal rental and landing fees. And these, the rental rates are based on the amount of space that's occupied in the terminal, and kind of what the expenses are associated with that is kind of how we determine the per square footage for rental rate. And then each area in the terminal for the airlines has a different type of use. So there's preferential, exclusive, an airline that had, like when American was here and then United and Delta actually now share space. But they have their counter was their own. So they had a rental rate for that. They have a common use area. They have baggage makeup areas. So there's different rates, but it overall becomes one rate, based on that. Landing fee. So this is always the fun one. That's actually based on the maximum certified gross landed weight of an aircraft times per 1,000 pounds. And so that's determined by, okay, what's covered under the airfield? We have, snow removal stuff, so any de-icing, fluid, all those expenses are taken into account, and then it sees what do we need to operate the airfield. So that takes into account, and then we determine, all right, what do we think we're gonna have for flights next year? What do you think our total landed weight is gonna be? How much do we need to charge per landing weight? Usually, it's anywhere from, I think our rate for 2026 is $7.72 per 1,000 pounds, multiplied out, and that comes up with our landing fees. It's also true for the terminal, it's based on that. So then the fun thing that we've been talking about a lot lately is cost per enplanement, CPE. And that number, it's really hard. It's not like a number that we say, okay, we're going to bill the airline at that CPE cost. They look at it as what they pay the airport in rental and landing fee divided by the number of passengers. So that's how they look at, this is what it costs them per passenger. And it's a very simple number. To me, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. There's not a lot of meat behind it. To me, I think I would look at a lot of other things, but that's how they look at a CPE. So that's also in part of the budget is determining, what do we think our enplanements are going to be? How is that going to factor in? I already discussed the customer facility charges. Capital projects. So I know that's, go ahead.
Just on your report,
Yeah.
that paragraph breaks off talking about CPE.
Oh, okay.
Is that just what's missing there is the description of your airline costs divided by
Yes.
passengers?
Yep.
That's okay. That's what I figured. Thank you.
I'm going to add that. Good, thank you. Sorry about that. Capital projects. So I know a lot of people see a lot of things happening at the airport and the costs, and capital projects, are generally funded, the majority of it through the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. And it varies, but it's never less than 90%. There was a couple of years where it was 100% funded. In 2025 and 2026, they're funding at 95%, and then the state will cover 2.5%. Passenger facility charges, or PFCs, any project that is Airport Improvement Program, AIP eligible, can be covered using PFCs. So most of those projects are safety and security related, something that has to be done that's mandated. And, they have a high rating scale in the FAA's handbook. So any project, we try to make sure that, we look at the project and determine, if it's AIP eligible, it can be covered with PFCs, which is really a benefit because then again, that doesn't cost anything locally for that share. I mean, there are issues where sometimes we have to, either come up with money out of our budget or determine how can we fund this to ensure that it gets done, or are there other fundings, other grants that we can get, which we've done. We have congressional direct spend funding coming in to help with the ARF, Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting / snow removal equipment, SRE building that we're working on building. So we have, congressional direct spend coming in for that. The PFC that's charged is on the ticket price. So it's not even something that comes directly, that we bill for. It's all done through the airline collects the money and sends it. And again, this is another separate account that the finance director has set up. The airport receives $4.39 and the airline keeps 11 cents. And it's a maximum of $18 that's charged on a ticket per round trip. What would really be very beneficial, and this comes up every year in legislative action, is to increase the PFCs. It would help with the projects. The airlines, of course, really don't want that. But this is something that, and I've brought up to, senators, to the chair of the legislature here, just thoughts moving forward. Is there any way that, just to keep this on people's minds, it would be another revenue benefit that could be used to cover projects at the airport. I know that's a lot, but it's not a lot, and there's much more. And again, I'm always happy to answer questions, but I'm always happy, at any time.
So, Randy's got a question, but let me ask you, just lay a little groundwork here. The airport traditionally had been considered an enterprise operation, that it not only broke even, but from time to time realized some significant revenues, and of course that would go into your reserve funds or offset other county costs. Your shortfalls in recent years, we've been assisting it with property tax levy dollars. Where specifically, where are you falling short on revenues? Is it in the PFCs or the CPEs, the volume of ridership, and that's probably not the right word to use, but the emplanements, that's really reflecting in a certain type of revenue not coming in that we traditionally or historically have had.
A lot of that, I would say, COVID was really what hit. We used to have 10, 12 flights a day. So the added landing fees, when we had American Airlines here, you had the additional rental. So that's kind of where it's falling, is the service. So that's, the importance of.
So the landing fees are coming up much less than where you were. Than where
they used to be. Well, and not as much because we're charging more. So we're having to charge more to cover because, fewer flights. So the increase in flights, and we've had the chicken and the egg, where, you increase the flights, and then eventually what can happen is with additional flights, we rely less on other revenue, having to ask the county to, help sustain the airport. We can increase the revenue there from the airlines. And then as we get more revenue from the airlines, we can lower their fees, which then makes them happy, and they can then maybe add an additional flight because of the lower fees. So it's a circle.
Well, I bring that up because I know that that was a major area of discussion when we did the budget retreat last year, and how to kind of balance that moving forward. And I'm almost certain that that'll be one of the topics that lays your budget assumptions here when we meet in the next month or so to start looking at the various major areas of fiscal stress for us.
And we're looking at other ways other revenue sources, trying to think outside the box. By us last year, looking at, okay, how can we cut costs? How can we use our revenue to the best benefit? And by taking over the contracts that we had, we took over 4 contractual services, the parking, the landscaping, the terminal cleaning, and the overnight security guard, replaced them with county employees. So not only able to give additional employees a paying job with the benefits within the Tompkins County, but save money. And initially, we were thinking between $50,000 and $70,000. My estimated savings for 2026 should be upwards of about $150,000 based on that. Still, we won't know until the end of the year, but that's really what we're looking at. And it's really been a great cost savings for us. And it's also just beneficial to have somebody within the area all the time, because some of the contracts were coming in only for a few hours a day, and we have somebody there to handle things longer term.
That's good to know. I know there was a little angst on creating new FTEs in the budget, and but being able to demonstrate that not contracting for those services has resulted in a cost savings to us. I had a question from Randy, I think, and then Dan, and then Judith. Thanks.
Yes, just to build on the cost per employment, that was the big discussion in the budget last year. And we initially, if we hadn't funded additional funds to the airport, your cost per employment would have gone up significantly. So what we did, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we provided county funds enough to keep the cost per employment at the same rate as it was in 2020.
Very close, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's, and we'll have that debate again. So I was giving you a heads up on that. But I have a question for you. So the customs facility, is that still empty?
It's still empty. We're looking at ways to use that. We're having a meeting with county admin set up for next week to discuss that more. And, and that's other revenue opportunities we're looking at as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dan?
Fewer flights. How many flights do we have now, and how many did we have before COVID per day?
We have 4 flights now.
Yeah.
We have 2 to Dulles and 2 to JFK, 2 on Delta, 2 on United. The Delta flights are on 76-seaters. The United flights are on 50-seaters. So we have a little better seat capacity because before they were on 50-seaters. Pre-COVID, we had between 10 and 12 flights a day. And before that, I think there was times where we had up between 16 and 18 flights a day. Probably when I first started there.
Yeah, my next question related to that is, what about passenger count? Because my thought was that we were having bigger planes now and smaller planes then, but maybe my time frame's all off on that. And are we just down on passengers as well?
Down on passengers because we don't have the service. So that's where we have a really great market. The airlines know that, so it's working to get that information to coincide with everything else. And again, bring the aircraft, they will come.
Okay, no,
we have a good load factor.
Okay.
We had 110,000 passengers in 2019, and in January and February of 2020, our employments went up for over 2019 by 11% and 12%. And then March, there was times where flights were going out with 1 person on them. So that's, we're in the high 60,000s now for passengers. I believe we can very easily, the 110,000 is very doable goal. And then, as I said last time, we'll have a problem with parking. And that's a good thing to have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Judith?
Did you say that in March we had flights with 1 passenger? You mean this March?
Not
right
this
now?
March, no, COVID, sorry, in 2020.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so my other question was, we added this 3rd flight to Dulles. You just said we have 4 flights a day, but did that make it 5 flights?
5 flights a day,
Okay.
yes, because we did,
Is there a
sorry.
way to calculate the influence of that new flight on CPEs? Like, how much does that reduce the CPE to add 1 flight so that we can get a sense of like how many flights would we need to get the CPE down to something more workable?
Yeah, so what I could do is look at, so if we had, another 50-seater, estimated employments of, 70% load factor, calculate that out, and it'll reduce, if we have that every day. Sure. That's something that I could put together and send out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks, folks. Roxanne, just touch on it before we move on. The county administration provided us departmental goals that you're working on, but it looks like there's three main areas. One's continuing to market and promote. The second is to implement the strategic plan that was approved last year. And the third area I see is starting to work on the master plan. And I guess the fourth is an energy assessment. Anything major on those you want to tell us about? I think they're pretty straightforward.
Yep, so the marketing, we're doing more, we're trying to reach out more to the community and the stakeholders. So that's been great. Chris he's got a really great in with Ithaca College, thanks to Paula. So we get to go up there and meet. We have a new member from Ithaca College on the Air Service Board. Cornell, he's been able to get functions going with Cornell. So that's been great, getting out into the community, which helps, build relationships and continue on that. Again, the key is air service and lowering the CPE. The energy assessment study, that's currently ongoing. Master plan has been put on hold because the FAA had some issues with staffing. So they have all the information up to date where we're at. So we're waiting for them to review the working papers. But once they get that back to us, we'll move full force forward with that.
Judith.
Is leasing or finding a use for the customs facility inside one of these goals?
And with the strategic plan, so
Okay.
that's, yes.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, and we did do an RFP when the customs facility first became vacant, and we didn't receive any responses. So Chris actually redug that out again, just even to send it to local, that we have this here, and we have to also, as work with the FAA and the DOT to make sure, because they funded it and it's airport property, and there's all those legal things on the side, but.
I think more broadly, as a legislative goal is to see the airport get back to a firm financial footing, but all of this is contributing toward that. And I don't know if that's the right way to word it, but certainly to get us to a revenue neutral position.
That's probably one of my main goals. I mean,
And maintain the excellent level of service that the facility provides to our community.
Right. It was very hard to be the first airport director to have to ask for the county for funding. So, one of my top goals, that's one of them.
If Mike Lane were here, he would proceed to tell us about the economic impact of the airport, and it is a driver.
41.2 million. Thank you. I just have that number.
Should we end on that?
I think that's a good end.
Okay. Thanks, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
I'll tackle the other department goals kind of in the same manner as we move along. Highway Department, Nick's here with us, and he brought us a lot last month, but we do have an information item, the capital payment summary report. And I guess he would ask if there's any questions on that. Did you have any highlights you wanted to touch, or we see this quarterly? Capital payment, or do you do that monthly?
It depends on what's going on. We do normally a quarterly update, and then this is just the summary of, what has happened, what we spent. Yes, that's even better. So not too much action there. These are all Bridge New York. Culvert, Cortlandt Street. Cortlandt Street, we actually are getting very close to signing the contract with the village to get the utility. Yesterday, the contract is right now, so all that looks promising.
Sorry, could you speak into the microphone more? Thanks.
Okay.
So did you hear what I had said on that one?
Only partly.
That one doesn't work so great.
The Cortlandt Street, we had a meeting yesterday with the village and Baker Miller Lumber to finalize where things were going to get moved. and the contract for the village to do the work for us is with the village mayor. So once they sign, comes back to us, goes to our contracts, Jesse signs, and we're issue some POs and move forward with that work.
Remind me, you've got a tight window to work with on bridge work over the Owasco Inlet with the DEC and when they allow for that construction to happen. So you've got to keep this one going.
Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, this project will not start till next year.
Till next year. Okay.
It's still in design, final design with the DOT. So we've got to make it through that phase. And then this will have steel girders, and those are usually lead time of about 9 months. So we get all the electric moved, get final design approved, go out to bid, and we'll be in good shape for next construction season. And July 15th is usually that window of you can't start until then in that tributary. So you have from July 15th to October 15th-ish for anything that is involved in the water.
That's good. You get the bulk of the work's done when the school buses aren't running.
Yes.
It'll make a little difference in how TCAT handles things. That's one of their main circles, but got to be done. So thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate your attention to that, and I appreciate your work with the village board. Kind of a main avenue for commerce and public works.
Definitely, and Baker Miller's, they're concerned about how it's going to affect them, and I think we've got some decent plans about keeping things moving, during construction. And the village is working out pretty good with them when they need to do some digging across the road for some new underground, and they're working hand in hand with them, so it sounds like we're going to be in good shape.
We had a question, I was talking with Judith before the meeting, impacts on Podunk Road Bridge. Is there a closure?
Podunk, that is closed, and it will be closed until we can tear it down and put the new one up. It's been deteriorating over the past 5 years. We've known about it. We got funding for that. We got an award letter December of 21. That's how long it's been in action. We've been going through the historical process on that for over a year. Currently, we are nearing the end of the advertisement to sell the bridge for repurpose. Currently, no one has even reached out and asked about it. Once we hit that date, then it moves to the next steps, and it hopefully can start to progress. Best case, new bridge next year if things can.
Pun not intended, but keep us posted.
Yeah.
Any questions for Nick? I'm gonna, Randy.
I'm curious on that bridge, what happens to the Podunk Bridge if nobody bids on it? It's the responsibility for us to take it off and just dismantle it, or what happens to it?
If no one does want to purchase it, and, there's pretty strict rules. If they do purchase it, it has to be repurposed in the exact original form, and so most likely no one will. When that happens, that lets us check the box that we tried every different means, and then it'll be dismantled and recycled during the project.
Okay. How did you do with salt this year?
We did decent because we have been frugal. We do a lot with different cutting edges. We have live cutting edges, so the last couple years we've been able to run the better cutting edges that scrape better, so you use less salt. This year we have done, kind of went back to how we did it 3 or 4 years ago. We mixed washed 1Bs in a little bit for traction. That helps us not have to spread. It stretches the salt plus gives people some traction. So currently I've ordered about 70% of my order. If the weather stays the way it is, that's how we'll end the season.
That's great. Last committee meeting, you gave us the draft copy of the road work.
Yep.
Is that finalized now that we can share it, or?
It's close. We actually just got back some of our mini bids for our paving projects, came in end of day yesterday, so we're putting those together. That gives us a really good idea of what things are going to cost for the year. The other thing we're still waiting on is the state budget to see where the CHIPS numbers land. So that's kind of what the final, but we can definitely turn a draft into ones that we do know, and then there'll still be some tentatives.
Okay. And my last question. So how did the heat work in the highway building? I heard that at times it was cold in areas. It didn't work well.
It's been a struggle. There's between, mechanical failures in the beginning to, some different things. I feel like now I've been working with Norma, and we're kind of monitoring it very closely. Facilities got the company back in, and when they repaired the 2 units in the truck bay, that's the cold one, that's where we've had the issues. During the dead of winter, we only had 2 of those running. It was cold. It wasn't freezing, but it was cold and, unacceptable. So they've been working at getting those repaired. They made some repairs 2 weeks ago-ish, finally got those other 2 units going. They're still going now. We're monitoring. It's better. I'm hoping with the new roof and some more insulation, that's going to help us as well. I'm talking with facilities, possibly some ceiling fans, because obviously it's warmer in the ceiling than it is on the floor. We need it more towards the floor to melt the trucks off, overnight.
Those are high ceilings, so it's a lot of heat.
Yes.
Yep.
I'd say it's a work in progress, and I think we're finally getting all sides pointed in a directed manner to come up with a final plan once we know where we're at.
Norma, I follow-up question, sorry. So that's a all new geothermal system there, right? So was it under warranty for these things, or are these separate units available?
I believe that portions of them are under warranty, but I think we probably should wait till Laurel is here to answer some of those questions.
Okay, thanks.
Libin, and speaking with Libin had told me that the 2 units that we've continually had some issues with, that part was. I do know he had said that, but other than that, yes, definitely Laurel's department.
Okay.
Can I ask? What about the rest of the building? Has that been, we're talking about geothermal for other buildings. How has that been for the rest of the building?
Up and down. I think it's definitely, it works, but it's just the fine tuning, and I feel like some of it, prior to this, we redid most of our shop floors and we put radiant heat in the floors. That kind of, maybe should have been planned better with the overall project, because there were some things that were put in that maybe didn't work quite as well, that now they've got that adjusted. So I think once everything is fine-tuned, it does work.
It raises an interesting question, and I'll go off agenda here just slightly. We probably are not going to discuss downtown facilities to any extent today, but in this discussion, it points out an area that I think we're going to have to come back to with relating to the center of government in the downtown complex. And we've planned in the larger building to place some kind of geothermal. And there's a continuing interest by some of the members, many of the members of the legislature, to look at a district-wide campus-type geothermal approach. And I think, and I just want to kind of hang this one out there for administration and facilities, that it would be good that if we enter into this discussion about a broader project, it's probably a multi-million-dollar add-on to the capital program if you were to expand beyond the footprint of the building and go to the district. And I'd like to see some report about our successes with geothermal and where we may want to think about that and whether the value is there and the costs are there and if the technology is there. So just something for administration to keep in mind as you're packaging this. Because I do think that you're probably going to see some of the legislators that have a particular interest in possibly expanding the geothermal, and what our experience has been up at Boswick Road would be, I think, valuable to several of us to know before we jumped into a potential $3, $4, $5 million add-on to the capital program.
Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Judith.
Absolutely. I think it's great to learn from experience. And on that topic, I was really interested to hear about your experience with these cutting-edge snowplows and how it changes your use of salt and how you've modified the use of salt. I'm wondering if it might be possible to put together a memo or something about your experience that could be shared with other municipalities who might not be experimenting in the same way and could benefit from your experience. I think in Ithaca, we often have particular challenges that relate to our geography and our climate, and maybe we could help people out by just letting them know what you've done and how that's influenced your purchasing needs and maybe reduced salt use.
I think, yes, good idea. Locally, we communicate with our towns a lot, kind of. And then our salespeople, if we buy something, well, when they're in sales, they want to sell more. So they go to the town of Groton and say, hey, the county bought these. So it's really spread. There's a couple different versions. There's one that they call a React blade that is actually made in New York State. That blade has become very popular. It's also one of the most expensive ones you can buy, obviously, but a lot of towns are running them. We're running some. I run a combination of those and a combination of carbide rubber with carbide infused and 1 foot segments. Those are called like a Yoma blade. That was the original designer. Those are designed to flex in 1 foot segments, and the React is designed to go up and down in 1 foot segments. They're very popular across the state. There's not too many places that are stuck in the Stone Age anymore. And, the key to that is cost. It's budget. That's what's driven it. But environmentally, I think it's really helped as well because everybody's cutting down. The price of salt goes up and budgets are getting tighter. So it's kind of worked one and one. But yeah, definitely in our associations, there's lots of the town level associations and then the county level, on the state levels, both of them there's lots of talks, there's seminars, so it's definitely out there. And I would share with anyone that had questions, but locally, I think a lot of towns have made the changes for sure.
It's great to hear there's so much communication.
It's pretty tight network, really.
When I was Director of Emergency Response, I had the pleasure of being invited to a lot of the meetings that the highway superintendents and managers had. And it was really a good association, a lot of collaboration that went on there, and they did a lot to help us with the emergency management activities and mitigation. So, but the sharing of information is key. Nick, I just want to touch on it before we let you go. Goals for the highway department appear to be focused on recruitment and development and climate with employees, number one, and then probably the major one that's of interest to us is the work on the 5-year capital plan, and just again more broadly from a legislature standpoint, that's one that I'm particularly interested in as we look at the overall how to make all the pieces fit together on the capital program and the major projects moving ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a piece of that is fairly simple. Kind of looking at the ratings of the bridges and the ratings of the roads. Roads aren't quite as difficult as bridges because obviously we've got a bunch of bridges on here. We got money for the one and now we've closed it and we still can't build one. So that's the hard part to project on the bridge side, is just what would it take, because it takes so long just to get one built. But we definitely, we have those in a rating. that we could present, and do a spreadsheet and show our best to worst. And funding wise, I mean, we have 4 or 5 projects happening right now. So it's like, yep, those are the worst, but then we get red flags on other ones that pop up. We had the one just before winter on Du Bois Road. That was a red flag that lowered the weight. We had to adjust the plow routes. We've got with one of our consultants, and they kind of looked through some things and said, it's not worth spending the money to repair that bridge, to bring it up, to get the weight limits back up with the, extension of the extent repairs that would have to happen. He's like, you need to put that in the plan. That was one that we weren't really, it was decent. But I think for a really tight one on the bridge side, and we've talked about it, Jeff and I had talked about it last year, that might be something that we would hire one of our consultants to go through and really do a deep dive into it to get us some real good numbers and projections. On the road side, I think that one we could handle in-house. We've been working on it, projecting that out. So I feel like the road one we could do, but if we really want a really good bridge capital plan, we need to be looking at hiring a consultant to do that. That's a little bit, I think, to have it accurate like we would like it to be. That's something that I feel we could give you something that's close in ratings, but I think they could do a lot better job at really forecasting that out. So that's, something we could look into.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm going to jump back to one of the resolutions while Nick is here that Randy pointed out to me. Under the county administrator's report, we had an authorization for it's under 6B, authorization for Tompkins County to self-insure the historic Newfield covered bridge, ID number 13933, moved by Randy, second by Dan. You have questions on that?
Yeah, I just want
to comment as a legislator in that district.
I do, and we talked about this in government operations and moved it to this group because we had some questions on it. And I wanted you, Nick, here. I don't. That may be an inspection as well. But I know that I want to get some historic data on this. This bridge is 150 years old, I think. I'm not sure we even know the bridges are that old, that have lasted that long. But it's really important. And when the town did its comprehensive plan, they ranked what was most important. And number 1 was a school, number 2 was the covered bridge, and number 3 was kind of the rural character and whatnot. And so this is identified by 75% of the people in the town of its importance. And we calculated, I think it's over 3,200 people visited the bridge last year, to give you a perspective of that, and from out of town, from other places. I don't know if you can, I'm looking at this and it says the approximate value of $2.2 million. I don't think you'd ever replace that bridge with another covered bridge if something happened to it. And I just don't think $2.2 million would cover that span. That's a big span. It's got to be 100 and some feet. I'm not sure what it is. But so I'm just wanting to get your, I know we have to insure it and we want to self-insure is what this is, but I'm not sure $2.2 million would cover it. So that was my thought.
I would say to replace it with a conventional bridge, right, you would probably be in the $3 to $4 million range for sure. And then to replace it and add a historical touch to it or a true covered bridge, you'd be looking at
10. Yeah.
I don't even want to say, I don't know. Conventionally, $4 to $5 million would that span, most likely. And then to add some more look to it or some character like we've done on some of the truss bridges and added some fake trusses on them, all that stuff is money for sure.
I know the state inspected it 5-7 years ago when they did work to it, but that's all I'm aware of.
So I did a little research. I'd heard about that this was coming up, so I did a little look back in our files. The state inspects that every year. It's August, September-ish. I just looked at the last inspection. They've been following pretty steady. They identify a few little things, which they always do. That's their job. Nothing serious. That one was, their last repairs were done on it in 2015. They dug out the one abutment, replaced the abutment, put a drain in, did some, I think, gutters, like the little rubbing, little wheel rub guides inside to keep them away from the walls. Did a few, smaller repairs. It was, a couple $100,000.
They put sprinklers in too.
Right, and that sprinkler system, dry hydrant type version or whatever that is.
Right.
I know in-house, we, once a year, we go through, we close the road down for a day, take our air compressor, blow all the cobwebs, dust, leaves, everything out, and then we spray it with it's kind of a creative mixture, and I don't even want to be quoted on what's in the mixture. There's a couple different things, but it's a wood preservative. We actually, we get it right at Meldrum's downtown. They get it for us. And one other side of that is we've been taking some of our old documents. We have some people in the office in the winter, it gets a little slow. They've been turning them, digitizing a lot of our stuff. And we found a company that actually specializes in and has done some work on it way back in the past. So we had reached out to them just, hey, do you still do this? And maybe, stop, if you're in the area, stop by, take a look and see if you have any recommendations. So that's, one thing I could come back with and see. They are still in business, but the only thing I noticed on it, there's a lot of moss and stuff on the roof. And there's not too much mentioned in our bridge inspection report about the roof. It's more everything underneath it, but the roof, it's starting to look questionable. But yeah, that's the story on it. It's a cool piece of history right there.
Any questions to the resolution? I would just make mention this extends the self-insurance from the county to cover the bridge. And we cover under our self-insurance fund up to $1 million, I think, is what we budget annually.
Yeah, that's we have.
Collectively.
We have an insurance reserve. And I believe that's over $1 million. And then, we have to make sure that we have our deductible, which is $1 million. Mm-hmm.
The deductible's $1 million, and then the county has policies for catastrophic loss in excess of that.
Right.
Just as a point of information for
And this
committee
is the
members.
only bridge that we have the responsibility for. I mean, there's no other. This is the only one. So, yeah.
Dan?
Nick, thank you very much. It was good to hear that the state inspects that annually. And I'm curious about self-insurance. Norma, can you explain what exactly that is and how that works? Because when I hear self-insurance, it's like basically the county stepping up and saying, we'll pay for the bridge if something happens to it. But it sounds like there's a plan of some kind that we have, and I just need to understand.
Yeah, I will ask Jessie to come in, and she has the expertise to talk about that.
So, but it's not if the bridge goes away, it's not the county shelling out, $6 million to replace it in kind.
We don't have, we have to look at what that insurance plan is, but we have a deductible that we have to pay. Yeah. So, and then we do have we have an insurance company that we work with. Yeah.
I would think, damages to it if somebody hits a component on the way through and it needs to be repaired, we'll be covering it through the self-insurance fund.
It's my understanding that as far as liability is concerned, though, that's not something that, this is not if somebody gets hurt, or this is just about so that's not on the county to insure.
So this came to us from Government Apps. Any further questions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Let me go to Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council, fondly known as ITCTC. I am getting that down. Good morning.
Morning.
We've got a resolution for an amendment of the 2026 Tompkins County budget to reflect appropriation of 2026-2027 budgets for the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council, and authorization to implement the amendment, ID number 13915. Is moved by Randy. Is there a second? Judith? Anything you'd like to brief us on? This is something we do this time of year to get in sync with your federal and state monies, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And I'll be very brief and then answer any questions you have. So the Transportation Council, as you know, is a hosted agency, not strictly speaking a county department. This budget has been approved by the policy committee of the ITCTC, and also we received notice last week that New York State DOT has approved the budget and work plan for next year. All funding for our operations comes from the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration through New York State DOT, and currently no county funds support ITCTC operations, although the county does provide in-kind support to host us, for which we're grateful, obviously, and it works very well. So as you said, Chair, the county budget is on a calendar fiscal year, and our funds are on a state fiscal year, which covers the period of April through March. So this is to bring our 26-27 state fiscal year budget, which we call the UPWP, or Unified Planning Work Program budget, to bring that in line with the county budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from committee members? If not, shall we vote? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Anything you want to brief us on at this point? Any major highlights you're working on?
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity, and happy to stay connected to the committee and come back and talk about what we're working on. I'm very pleased 6 months into the role with how things are going. I reported to our policy committee on Tuesday that as I just said, our budget has been approved by the state. All of our reimbursement requests are moving forward as expected. With this last sort of first administrative process, we have a number of administrative steps that we're required to do as our core function and to support our operations. As a new director, I've had to learn all that. So we're finishing now with a period of a lot of heavy administration for me as a new director, and a learning process for that. And now entering a period when we're beginning our new work plan as of April 1, launching some new projects and initiatives, getting contracts in place for partner-supported projects this year. I can highlight a couple of those. We announced on Tuesday that we're pulling together a little map that'll be publicly available and also really available to policymakers countywide of current construction year transportation-related projects. This doesn't exist anywhere. The data's out there. We're in a good place to kind of pull that all together into one place. So that'll be available this spring as an online interactive GIS-based map, and we're collaborating with County GIS Department and all of our members and partners on that. We're funding a few projects this year in our budget. If you look at that project line in the budget you just approved, or maybe are about to approve. No, you voted. You just approved. I can highlight a couple of those contracts because it's kind of interesting. We're supporting state parks with some funding to match other funding to support a Black Diamond Trail extension feasibility study. This is the section between Buttermilk Falls State Park and Robert Treman State Park. The town and New York State have now worked out an arrangement where they've acquired all the remaining parcels in that section, and transfer of ownership to New York State is happening. So they're ready to do some sort of next level conceptual feasibility work to move that project along, which is very exciting, and we're happy to support that. Supporting a small Lansing footpath design and liability study to advance trail work in Lansing. We are working with Ithaca College and the town of Ithaca on a West King Road safe pedestrian crossing feasibility analysis to connect IC Natural Lands to Buttermilk Falls State Park. We're working with the town of Ithaca and hopefully the Tompkins County Sheriff's Department on evaluating opportunities for a new data tool called Urban SDK. This is speeding and safety data provided by a third-party vendor. So we may come and talk with you more about that in the future. We've got a little bit of money from our budget in that, hopefully to match money from a grant that the Sheriff's Department is applying for and municipal partner support. So we're investigating opportunities to support our partners with that data tool. Some safety improvements downtown, Lansing Greenway signage and wayfinding study, and then an East Shore rail line legal analysis. So those are a few contracts that we'll be working on this year, as well as a number of internally focused activities, communications activities. I think the most exciting thing for me this year is after doing a comprehensive organizational assessment, it became clear that there's strong interest in having the Transportation Council play a more assertive and direct role in transportation planning and project implementation support. And in order to achieve that, we're a very small shop. Traditionally, we've had 3 FTE, the director, an analyst, and an administrative assistant. And we've decided that we're going to parse out some of the admin roles and use our third FTE opportunity that we have within our budget to hire a transportation planner this spring. And so that's something we're really excited about and sort of thinking right now about what opportunities we can unlock for us and our partners to support our function around long-range transportation planning. So more to come on that as well.
All right, Judith.
It's all very fascinating, and it goes well beyond what we can see in the budget here. I'm guessing a lot of this is just under program expenses. Is there a document or is there a plan to have you present more on what these different, okay, so we'll see more in detail on these?
I can leave it with you today, and we can sit and go through it, or I can come back. Happy to do whatever makes sense.
Great, I have lots of questions, but I don't want to derail this meeting.
I think it'd be a good topic for a future committee meeting, and we're letting maybe.
I'll leave that with you today, and we can come back depending on what folks want to discuss.
Well, you're getting your feet on the ground or wheels on the road, however the case may be. So.
I agree with that. Is that something that's linked on your page or not?
Absolutely, yeah. That's our again our UPWP.
Is that so? That's what you've been reading through. Okay,
yeah, and I printed a few copies here,
okay.
And I'll leave you with the printed copies for anybody who wants that.
Great.
I also printed my 2-page sort of highlight document that I presented to our committees, so that you can see some highlights as well.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Tom, thank you.
Thank you. Who wants a copy?
Let's move on to the Department of Planning and Sustainability. And we were forwarded an inventory of county-owned land 2025, which was an update, 5-year update, I guess, that was put together.
This is the old one, I guess. I should look at the new one. Okay. Oh, this one says 2025, 2026.
Good morning, Katie.
Hello.
I clicked here.
Scroll down.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us.
Do I click here?
Many of you might not even know this inventory exists if you haven't been on the legislature for 5 years. So we're pleased to present this to you. I will say this was the work of Darby Kiley, and she is stuck in Washington, D.C. with delayed and canceled flights. So following the airport conversation, just sharing that bit with you. So this land inventory comes from the land transactions policy, and we did the first land inventory in 1997. And it's updated roughly every 5 years, although annually we kind of stay on top of it so that we can always provide a snapshot of what is owned by the county at any time. The land policy calls for an effort of assessment, planning, administration, highway, and facilities to all look at our land and facilities holdings. And
Can I ask, do we have the land inventory? I don't see it in the packet.
Separate email.
Okay.
I learned today, Judith, which I didn't know, if you click on the actual link of the meeting, not the agenda packet, it takes you to more information on the meeting. So if you scroll down to planning and sustainability, it is available there if you click on that link. So it gives you some historical information about the property, current information, and then a description of the strategic value to the county. So that's what this is. And just to give you an overview, the county owns 56 parcels of land, just under 1,600 acres with an assessed value of around $152 million. The parcels that were added between 2020 and 2026, several of them you are probably very familiar with. The Key Bank and Professional Building, part of the Center of Government project. Dutch Mill Road, also tangentially part of the Center of Government project. And the shelter facility, the land at 227 Cherry Street. In addition to those, you might not realize that we took title to a small bit of land adjacent to a creek in Freeville, and we've been working on disposition of that land for a while now, but the legislature passed a resolution last November to sell that land to the village of Freeville, and that is moving forward. Administration is currently in negotiations on price with the village to get that taken care of, and that will include provisions to protect the land with 100 feet buffer of the stream to make sure that's protected. We also added Tucker Road Cell Tower. It was land that was subdivided in that 5-year period, and so the county just went ahead and bought the land instead of leasing it. Protect that cell tower that's part of our 911 system. We also discovered in this process that the county was deeded parcels in the 1930s along State Route 89. And it's either side of the road, so we'll be working with either selling those parcels over to Department of Transportation, the New York State Department of Transportation, or if they don't want them, an adjacent landowner. So that's all the new parcels that were added. There also were some parcels that were disposed of since then. First one was one we also obtained through the foreclosure process called on Beardsley Lane in the town of Danby. These were actually stormwater facilities for a subdivision, and so we worked with the town of Danby. They came up with a way of protecting those lands, and we were able to get them out of the county holdings and into the town of Danby holdings. And then North Tioga Street parcel, those are the INHS homes that were built along Sears Street. So it's kind of a look back on all of the land transactions that have been taking place. And then just the executive summary lays out all the different data sets that we look at, and it's a synopsis. Abigail has done an amazing job with mapping for this project this time around, and so you can see the maps, you can see the tables with all the summary information. We do have some recommendations for next steps for the land inventory, which we do every 5 years. Some of them have been next steps since 1997, because, for example, Hillview Road right-of-way, we can't get the state to prioritize taking on this little tiny bit of land, but we'll keep working at it and see if we can get some traction on that. A couple of new ones that were identified this time around is at the Whole Health Building on Green Street. Trying to work with the state to see if we can purchase the little parking area that we're currently utilizing. There's it's just kind of cleanup items really there. So there's that, and there's that front grassy paved area near the entrance of the building that is also something that would just make sense for the county to own. Obviously, any acquisition would come to the legislature for your approval, but we'll find out what options are available there. Similarly, the Recycling and Solid Waste Center, this one was brought to us by Jay Franklin, who apparently has it on his bucket list to try to clean this up, but it's a mapped cul-de-sac area that is just very confusing. There's no record of who actually owns these tiny little bits of land, so we're going to try to clean those up as well. And then the State Route 89 parcels that I mentioned before. That's the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Katie. Dan?
Big thank you. It's a pretty big project. How long did it take to put together?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some reading to do.
I think you'll find it interesting.
Judith?
I'm really curious about these two parcels on Route 89. I was just looking at them, little triangles on either side of the highway. What is the value to us in, I know they're not worth very much, right? But what's the value in keeping them? Is there any other plan that they might be used for something? Are they really not really usable for anything?
Yeah, so Darby did talk with Nick at the Highway Department, and that little bit of land on the east side is used by our Highway Department, but I think if it went to the state, that would still make sense because it's their road, and I don't know, Nick seemed to feel like that was a good idea. Nobody has interest in the west side, so we would reach out to that landowner. There is a driveway that goes along that parcel, so it would be probably in the best interest of that landowner, that land.
Randy?
Yeah, I've driven by that parcel on 89, and thanks for looking at that. And it looks like it's almost like a turnaround for the highway department or something.
Exactly, for their plows in particular.
I think it also says scenic overlook, which all the trees are there, so there's no scenic overlook anymore. But I have a question. I brought this up before, the parcel on Harris B. Bates Drive. And I know that the county looked at potential developers or RFPs in the past. Is that on your plan to see if that's something that could be developed?
Yeah,
or sold?
yeah, definitely. What we're planning on doing is probably sometime in the second quarter, we'll be working on a memo outlining the efforts that have been made in the past with that land and kind of lessons learned. And then that will go into the housing strategy, and it might percolate up as government-owned land that would be appropriate for development of some sort of housing or something else. And so I think that's kind of the process that we're looking at. But yes, it is land that is owned by the county, that is deemed surplus, that is in a location that would make a lot of sense for some sort of development.
And the last question is the land that's on the opposite side of Warren Road that is kind of the extension of the runway the airport. Have you analyzed that? Is all that property in that zone, so to speak, or is there pieces of it that are not?
The clear zone is defined by the FAA, and there are some uses, too bad Roxanne's not here, there are some uses that are appropriate in the clear zone. I don't remember exactly what they are, but I think like the DOT facility is in the clear zone.
Right.
A certain type of use.
I just don't like the county owning land. That's my issue. So.
Oh, yeah, we need to own that land for the airport.
But my thought was that there's portions of it that maybe is not. And it looked to me from my pictures, but I could be completely wrong. I don't know how wide that area is, and so it was my thought that maybe there's 5 acres or 15 acres or something that could be sold off or developed or whatever.
Yeah, that is looked at every time the airport, the airport master plan is done. So when that finally, hopefully, gets FAA available to work on it again, that'll be analyzed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I know you report primarily to the Planning Committee, but you did mention in our goals section that you've worked on, you've got 3 or 4 main areas of consideration this year, and similar to that conversation we had with the geothermal, that is, the district study is a part of your goals this year.
Yes, it is. And I did hear from Terry that the consultant CHA that's working on that district study expects in 2 to 3 months, hopefully, to have the district design and the rough costs of a district. So it doesn't line up that well with the timeline of the center of government, but that information should be coming in the not too distant.
And one of the other goals is funding for first mile and last mile, and Frank will be talking to us here toward the end of the agenda on the mobility plan, so we can capture you on that then. Thanks. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to step away here, and Dan Wakeman is our kind vice chairman will be picking up the agenda as we move to recycling and materials management. And thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Thank you, Katie.
Just one resolution left. Yeah. Okay. You'll have to go back to Norma for.
Yeah, I know that. I know we got to get back there.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Lee's the lucky one.
Okay, we are on to recycling and materials management. So we got a couple of resolutions here, and we have some goals as well. How do you want to start with this?
Well, let's see. Maybe I'll just start real quick. Everyone knows CAT. I have with me Nate Bates. I just actually gave Nate Bates his 15-year certificate with the county. Nate oversees, his title is Recycling and Waste Reduction Coordinator. He oversees 2 of our programs, Household Hazardous Waste and the Old Landfill monitoring and post-closure monitoring. So a couple of those resolutions that we have today fall into those programs, so Nate will be speaking to those. I think the first one that we have is the capital payment summary report.
Sorry, yep, let me read that in here and then someone can go from there. That is acceptance of grant funding from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Household Hazardous Waste, HHW 25 State Acceptance Grant Program, ID number 13960. Randy moves. Judith seconds. Discussion.
So I can speak to this real quick if it would be helpful, just
Thank
to
you,
provide an overview. So this is an annual grant that we apply for. We are looking for reimbursement from the state for expenses from 2026, or I'm sorry, from 2024 for our 6 household hazardous waste collection days. They provide partial reimbursement for expenses related to those events. And this is just part of the grant cycle timeline. We wanted to make sure we were checking the right boxes and bringing requests for approval forward for signing off on that grant contract. We've received an award letter at this point, or a tentative intent to award letter.
Thank you. And the total amount on this, there it is, 42,000, right?
Yes.
Okay. Judith.
What is the process for actually disposing of this, this hazardous waste? I mean, I know I brought some things in that I found in my basement, like a can of lead paint. So that was an exciting discovery. But what do you do with it?
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, so there's a waste disposal hierarchy, depending on the type of waste, where reuse is first, recycling second, waste to energy might come into play, or a specialized landfill. There are some materials that have a product stewardship or a extended producer responsibility component, like the paint that you mentioned. There's a manufacturer's consortium or organization that funds the cost of that, where they really do prioritize the reblending and reselling of latex paints when it's possible, or it may go to waste to energy.
It may be helpful to know, too, that we contract with Clean Harbors to come in and manage those 6 events, collection events that we have. So they're responsible. They're the ones that are taking stuff from your car. They take it into the HHW depot, and they'll separate it out by different categories of whether it's pesticides or paints or solvents or what have you. So they have chemists on site to do all that. That material, for the most part, all of it goes out that same day it's collected on a tractor trailer back to their, I want to say, depot or warehouse where it's dispersed to disposal sites.
So then they do this and they bill you for the total cost, because that takes a little while for them to figure out, I assume, how much material there is and where to send it. And so you don't get that information until sometime in 2025 for a project in 2024, and that's why this is a long delayed reimbursement process. There's just a lot of steps.
It really just comes down to the cycle that the DEC has for the grant funding related to this. They seem to be on a cadence of, we see a request for final application and submittal contract about a year and a half after. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, every year in January, February, the DEC invites us to apply for this grant for the preceding year.
Yeah, but as far as knowing what's taken in on that collection day, Nate will have an inventory of that, if not that day, shortly after that collection day. If there's anything left over in that household depot building that we have that Clean Harbors doesn't take, that's all inventoried, and then Nate would report that to the fire department as to where everything's staged in that building.
And I know it doesn't cost anything to drop things off at an event like this, if you have a valid permit. Have you thought about implementing a fee? I mean, there's fees for regular trash drop-off even if you have a valid permit.
Yeah, so the state covers 50% of the cost of what we take in. The other, so I wasn't here when this was initiated, but as far as taking it for free, the revenue to support the remaining expenses would come from our annual fee that we bill out to residents and businesses, colleges. With that said, these types of waste could probably be easily dumped in the back of someone's garage or illegally dumped. So, taking something like that for free, certainly I think, prevents illegal dumping of that material. Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that, either one of you?
I think you covered it.
Further discussion? All right, let's proceed. Those in favor? We've got 4. How do we need to account for
Lee will just be noted as excused in the minutes.
Okay, great.
So
Thank
that's
you.
unanimous.
Well, being that we've only had 4 here, there's no opposed. They all voted for it, so no opposed.
Yeah.
Okay, continuing. The next resolution, acceptance of grant funding from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, NYSTEC, Municipal Waste Reduction and Recycling Coordination and Education Program, MWRC, ID number 13958. Randy and Judith. Discussion.
I can share a quick overview on this one as well, if that would be helpful. Sure. So similar to our household hazardous waste grant, this is a recurring grant to cover about 50% reimbursement for expenses. In this case, it's for our education and outreach related to recycling and waste reduction. This one, we actually just received the letter of intent to award, or the tentative award notice, on Monday. So since we had submitted this materials, we've been given a little more information that this is going to be moving forward in the process. One thing to note is that the award letter noted a dollar amount of around $192,000. So where the resolution notes up to, just a clarification that the eligible expenses identified in the application were a little bit lower than that. So happy to answer any questions on that if there are any.
Yeah, thank you. You said, what was that number again, 192?
192,000.
Okay. Do we need to make an adjustment in the resolution to reflect that or not? That's a question for Taylor, I think.
So we're on packet page 39.
Right. It says up to, so I guess it's still good.
Correct.
As worded.
It's
Okay.
just depending on if you choose to make that amendment or not.
All right.
Accepting up to.
Yeah. Any questions from the legislators? Okay, and just one small comment on both of these. These are accepting reimbursement for work that's already occurred for a prior year, both of them.
This particular one is actually for expenses for this year.
Oh.
So
Okay.
whereas the HHW looks back and is about a year over, this one is actually looking to, we apply ahead of the expenses for the next calendar year.
Thank you.
When you apply ahead of time, you basically kind of get in a position a little higher up on the list when things are actually awarded. So when we submit that, it's for the most part what we have budgeted in 2026 in our education and outreach program.
Judith.
So if we're getting 192,000 and that covers about 50%, or covers 50% of these projects, that's $384,000 that you're planning to spend on recycling education and websites and promotional tools and so on. Is that correct?
That does include some contracts and some salary as well.
Okay.
And I think the important thing to note is that, you know, throughout the year, kind of, we monitor our budget, we take a look at where our revenues are and where our expenses are. And so often we will find ourselves pulling back on planned activities to make sure that our budget is still in good shape. And so while this is up to that dollar amount, there is a chance where we might pull back on spending something.
Right.
And therefore that would impact the 50% reimbursement that we would be eligible for.
Thanks.
Because it's tied to expenses.
All right, well, with no further questions here, those in favor? We've got 4.
Thank you.
Thank you. And continuing. One more resolution, award of contract, Tompkins County Recycling and Materials Management Closed Landfill Environmental Monitoring Services, ID number 13957. Randy and Judith. Any discussion? I mean, this is for monitoring predominantly the water that's coming out of the landfill, right?
So Recycling Materials Management is responsible for the post-closure maintenance and environmental monitoring of 2 closed landfills in the county, basically on opposite ends. One is in the Dryden area, one is in the Danby area. They've both been closed for about 30 years. With this contract, we sample groundwater wells around the perimeter as well as select residential wells in the neighborhood. Those are analyzed through the contract, and a report is generated that is shared with the New York State DEC.
Anybody else? Questions? Randy?
It's like in Danby, I believe that that landfill is adjacent to a natural biodiversity preserve of some sort there. So testing is very important, very unique character there, a lot of low ground, so I'm glad we're doing it.
And with the Hillview Road landfill, we're lucky to benefit from the Hillview Road Closed Landfill Citizens Advisory Committee, which is a citizens committee that's been in place longer than I've been around, and I believe as well before Tompkins County took over that landfill.
Joel, right?
Yep.
Any others? All right, let's take the vote. Those in favor? We've got 4 again.
Thank you.
Great. And I realized I missed an item here back on the first page of our agenda. It's the capital summary, ID number 13962. Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just throw out there that this year we are working with 2 capital projects, one being the closed landfill leachate systems upgrade, I believe we're calling it. It's a 3-year project, and that bid for the first construction phase is on the street right now, and due back probably in a couple weeks. So we'll be coming with an awarded bid for that fairly soon.
Okay.
The second one, I won't have to speak to the second one. It's not out for bid yet, but it's a small project at the vestibule at the Recycling Solid Waste Center.
Is the leachate collection system a 26 project, or is this you're getting bids on it now? But will that be next year? What's the schedule?
That's a 3-year project. It started actually in 2025 with planning and design. There's a component this year in 2026, and then 2027 we'll be looking at replacing a leachate tank either at Caswell landfill or Hillview landfill. What we're doing in this first couple of years is really going to kind of shake out a good assessment of the condition of those systems and tank. So that'll help us determine which one we'll replace in 2027.
Randy.
On the leachate, I know are we still sending that to the City of Ithaca processing?
Yes.
And have they raised their fees on us, or are they about the same?
Not since, was it the beginning of last year, 2025, or was it 2024?
I think it's 20, maybe it was, well, I don't know, but they did raise it quite a bit at one time.
They did. It was a large increase for us, but we haven't seen any increases since.
Okay. And I think I know the answer to this, but so are all the costs associated with these old landfills, does that come through our annual fee that we pay? So there's no county funds, it's from the annual fee that's paid?
Yes, there's no county funds, and 100% of our expenses for managing those closed landfills come from the annual fee, a portion of the annual fee.
Thank you.
Yep.
Randy, thank you for the highlight of the water processing, the water treatment, the leachate treatment rather. So, I mean, it's obvious, I should have thought of that. But my question here is, I'm presuming that's a tank and a vac and truck, and if that's the case, what's the frequency?
Well, the frequency of transporting it and delivering it to the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, I mean, am I right about it's a vacuum and then truck and haul? Is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yeah, a tanker truck would pull into the landfill. Leachate would be pumped from the tank into the tanker. Mm-hmm. It's very seasonal. We have seasonal fluctuations. We'll be entering our high volume season if we haven't already. where we could have upwards of 3 8,000-gallon tanks pulled out of Caswell anyways, a day.
Really?
And that
Okay.
could go 2-3 weeks easily. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a continuous monitoring thing in the high season, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You got multiple times a day, okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Nate is out there at least once a week, if not a couple of times a week, monitoring tank levels. However, it is in our scope of work for the contracted hauler to basically be responsible for also managing the level of the tanks and hauling material out of there as needed.
Okay. So that's not on a SCADA system where you have an alarm or a report?
Not currently.
Okay, great.
And actually, one of the components of the capital project that I mentioned was remote monitoring of those tanks. So we're going to be putting in systems at both landfills where Nate will be able to tell the level of leachate in those tanks right from his computer.
Great. John?
Yeah, I know I've heard about the annual fee many times, but actually as a resident, I have no idea how I pay it, how much it is, where it appears. How do I pay that?
I believe when you get your tax bill, there's a line onto it that says solid waste annual fee. Currently,
That's where it goes to my mortgage company, and I never pay attention to it. Okay.
so currently it's $85 per unit is the current fee.
Per residence?
Per resident, and there's a calculation where that $85 is calculated for commercial businesses, could be
Much different.
square footage, colleges are number of students, that sort of thing. Norma's an expert with the annual fee, so any questions on the annual fee can be directed to Norma over here.
We've had our times.
Okay, I'm going to next move to, unless somebody has further discussion on this. Next go to the departmental goals, and so I put that back on your plate for discussion on that.
Kat, I had one for us, ready to go, I guess, yeah. So how are we handling the goals? I mean, did you want me to touch on all of them?
Yeah, well, we've got them printed out here. Is there anything you want to highlight for us, I guess?
Well, I guess I'll start with that first one, hiring a part-time solid waste enforcement officer. Happy to say that person started, his first day was just past Monday. And we're really looking forward to getting this person up to speed. With that said, I will also say we're hopefully going to be moving some updated laws, the Chapter 140 laws. We've been working with, our legal consultant representative, Westlaw Group, helping us with those. They'll be going to Maury for his review. I'm hoping within a month, if not a week. For our programming, Back to the Basics campaign, that's continuing. We do a lot with our education campaigns, but the Back to the Basics, I think there was some social media things that we've instituted, right?
Yeah, primarily through social media, and we're continuing to build on that. I know we're coming up on education and outreach season. As it gets warmer, we do a lot more tabling out in the community and have a couple events and activities lined up as well to kind of build on that and help people understand the services that are available to them in ways that they can leverage waste reduction, especially with recognition as trash tag costs continue to increase.
Our third goal, expanding food scraps recycling efforts. So we did receive a grant, and we have been planning out implementing a food scrap curbside collection pilot within the city of Ithaca. It's in a target area of 1,000 homes. Happy to say that is on track to start collection April 1st. And we are really looking forward to data that we gather from that, understanding any challenges, and we really hope to, we'll be planning to update the legislators, I would say month to month. We have a goal for this pilot to continue somewheres in the county, not by the county itself, but we want to work with municipalities, villages, the city, to either take this pilot program over and continue it, or share the results of the pilot with Cuca Heights, with Village of Dryden, Trumansburg, whoever's best suited for this. I often speak to landfill cost of landfilling. And again, it's just going to get more and more expensive. And I really hope that some of these villages, different municipalities within Tompkins County takes advantage of what it is that we're trying to build as far as infrastructure with a curbside type collection program. Hoping you folks can help us with that in some fashion.
Just being realistic with the time check here, I would love to have some more discussion on this because I have lots of questions, but I'm going to table those. Okay. And I know we have to get back to Norma and administration. So just to cruise through your highlights.
Yep. Well, with that said, the fourth one, we talked about the 2 capital projects. Those are all underway. And then implementing the 10-year solid waste management plan. That was finalized in 2025, and we are hitting the different implementation task on the implementation schedule. So,
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other from the legislators? Any questions? I think we're waiting. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Actually, I've got Frank on the list here. We haven't gotten to yet either.
Yes, and we also have facilities, and Arella's online.
And he has a meeting that he has to go. Yeah, I think we've run
long.
That's why we moved the soil and water meeting to 1 o'clock instead of 12:30, which comes right after this.
Okay.
Yep.
So just a little bit of guidance here. Arel's got a call here at noon. Is that what I just heard?
He has a meeting that he has to go to. I don't know if he can come back next month with his overview of his goals, because I don't think there's any resolutions.
No, we've got a presentation from Frank.
Yeah.
You have a...
I have a resolution.
You've got a resolution.
ID 13949.
Okay.
I'm happy to reschedule for next month. This isn't pressing.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Frank's rescheduling.
Maybe we can move them earlier in the agenda.
Yeah. Arel, are you there?
Yes.
There we go.
Can you hear? Can you hear and see me? I'm actually driving to the noon meeting.
Okay. Well, job number one here is you being safe behind the wheel. So go ahead and turn off your video. I don't want any distractions there. Do you have any I know one of the things we've been going through here is department goals. With you on the road there, I don't know if I want to have you effort to go through those now, but do you have any top of mind items for us?
Yeah, I can delay my review of my work planning goals till the next meeting. I'm actually going to meet up at Emergency Response Center. It is one of the capital restoration capital projects. The chiller at the Emergency Response Center is failing, so we had to do an emergency procurement. We went out to get proposals. We received 5 proposals from mechanical contractors and are going to meet now with staff to make a decision who to award the contract to.
Okay.
The center of government, as you know, the legislature gave us direction early this month, and this afternoon at 3, we're meeting with departments to pick up where we left off and let them know wherever they end up. And let's see, the Dutch Mill project, we've already moved in assessment. They started moving in last week, and as of today, they're fully moved into the Dutch Mill Road site and starting operations from that location versus Building C. We are continuing to prepare the space for Office for the Aging and hope to move them in mid next month.
Pretty good highlights.
Okay, pretty good highlights.
Leave it at that.
I'm sorry, say that last part again, Norel?
He said he'd leave it at that.
Going to leave it at that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We're good
Thank
there.
you.
All right. Shifting over here briefly to administration. And Norma, you're here. Thank you. And
Page 23.
thank you. But the resolution here, let me just put this on the floor here. Authorization to enter into a lease agreement for the office space for the Tompkins County Workforce Development Department and assigned council department, ID number 13949. Randy moves. Can I have a second? John seconds. And you said, what, page 23?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here, 23.
This was this was a resolution, we received approval to enter into conversations with Seneca Place for the, for departments. We hadn't named departments yet about who was going to be going into the building. This is authorization to allow us to, we've received a lease, it's in the county attorney's office. He's presently reviewing that with our, with our real estate attorney. And so we're waiting for those terms to come back, but we were able to really get a pretty decent rate for the space for both the workforce developments. This would be the Department of Labor, Workforce Development, and assigned council would be in these suites. So that's what this is to allow us to move forward. And then the actual contract and all of the lease information will come to you in an executive session through the attorney's office as soon as that's finalized.
Okay, thank you for that clarification there.
I guess maybe Randy was going to ask me.
Yeah, I've got you, Randy, I've got you. But this is for moving, right now, these departments are over in Center Ithaca, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so they'll be moving. All right. Randy?
Yes, and would that also bring Chris Spahn's group into the same space?
Yes.
So consolidating all that?
Everybody, yep.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and we're, right now, we're waiting for a response from the Department of Labor. They've got a letter of commitment to move along with us, but their lease is through July 1st.
Okay, I see you're looking at potentially a 10-year lease, which would mean you're not planning on moving them into the center of government building, or
There
is
won't
it-
be space enough for the center,
Okay,
in the center.
so that was just asking.
Yep.
So the, is it a 10-year lease, or is it some lower amount of years with a renewal, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's right now it's a 10-year lease with a 7-year out. So.
Sorry, say it again?
It's a 10-year lease with a 7-year out. So if
What does that mean?
Well, in 7 years, we have we can leave the lease
Okay.
We expect it's probably going to take that long, even with the renovations. If we were building the larger building, it would have still taken us at least 7 years to be able to move these folks around. So we figured 7 years would definitely be enough, but 10 years will be likely the whole length of the workforce development lease.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John?
And my understanding is the Department of Labor either pays for part of this lease or has a separate lease. How does that work?
Correct. Right now, we have an agreement with the Department of Labor we pay them. What will happen is it'll just flip and the county will have the responsibility for the lease and then we'll bill the Department of Labor.
Further discussion? Questions? Call for the vote. Those in favor? We've got 4.
Thank you.
Okay, it is after 12, and I'm going to ask Norma if you've got, let's see, we were talking about goals, but if you, let's see, I'm find them here. I had the tab folded over.
Randy.
You on here? Let me see.
I mean, probably the only thing left would be
Yeah.
if I have updates from the county administration office. And the only thing I would say is you may see a few hiccups in the capital plan report that you all have been using because we're doing some updates to it. But rest assured, it will be fixed very soon. So we're in the process of putting together we're working with planning department to develop a 20-year plan. And that 20-year plan is driving those reports that are online.
Mm-hmm.
So in the edits, you may see a few little hiccups, but I will fix them pretty quickly. So.
Okay, yeah.
Just so you know. That's the only report I have, though.
Is that a hiccup for a day or two, or is that, longer term?
No, we're talking days, not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
but just if you happen to go in there and you go, wait, that was there, it's because we've been changing some of the titles and it's throwing it off a little bit. Yeah.
I did a quick look through. I didn't see goals for the administration. I think, wait a minute, did we cover those before?
County administration goes through the government operations. So
that's where that goes.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
We come to every meeting, but our actual oversight goes
and
to
that since I'm in that too, I'm a little bit confused here right now. Okay.
No worries.
All right, so you hit the top of mind item for you, which is the webpage with the capital.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you want to
That's the
highlight
only thing
for
I
us?
have for you today.
All right, okay. All right. I think that's what I've got on my paper here. I'm going to ask Taylor if she can hold me to that. Is there anything else that I need to hit? We need to hit.
No, I don't think so. I think you can declare adjournment
Okay.
as long as there is no opposition.
Legislators, is there anything else? Then I'm going to, do I need to have a resolution to adjourn or just declare?
Just declare as long as there's no opposition.
Okay, as long as nobody's opposed, let's adjourn.
Woohoo.
Thank you.
Thank you.